Hello everyone and welcome to the 6th race of our Liqui Moly Pro Sport Bike Championship from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. I'm your series announcer Frank Wood. Today's race coverage is brought to you by Dalton Timmis Insurance, Motovan, Honda, Magneti Marelli offered by Mopar, and Dunlop.
2 rounds left to go, both of them here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and the question is, can Thomas Kazzaz seal the deal today on Saturday and ride free tomorrow, Frank?
Well, we get ready for this 14-lap national championship final. The tire warmers have been removed and the generator's been hoisted over the wall. Trouble now, trouble for Hornblower. The number 111 bike, Colin, being caught out here. He stalled it on the starting line before our sighting lap, and now they're having problems getting it. In fact, it's not starting.
And so that is Will getting pushed by his father, Bill, both of them successful racers. First race back on the tour for Will Hornblower here, and his dad's obviously scrambling to get that Yamaha R6 running. That's our chief technical guy, Fred, trying to help out here. And, of course, there's a very small window of time. Once you're off the tire warmers, there's a lot of pressure to get going. Everybody's really nervous and jumpy at this point, and I think it
fired up. Yeah, it did. It started up on that one. Wow, that must have had them very nervous indeed. Look at Hornblower shaking his head. Oh, thank goodness this thing fired up, he's saying, as Bill Hornblower jumps over the wall.
And that's a very tall wall, so that ladder has a real perk there.
It is indeed. Okay, the riders now are focusing on the Rider's Choice starting lights. Oh, pardon me, we're on our sighting lap. I got a little bit ahead of ourselves, Colin. I've been so much looking forward to this race.
So we're on board with Thomas Kazzaz, our points leader there briefly, and a very strong field for Liqui Moly Pro Sport Bike here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Really the strongest field for over a decade in our middleweight category. We're looking at the grid of our deep field. Mike Reniowski is back in action. He was hurt at Superbike. He missed the racing there, so did not take part in that doubleheader. Now we're moving up to rows 3 and 4, and we're getting into some of the faster riders in the series. Stacy Nesbitt had a terrific weekend at Superbike a month ago. Some of her best career pro events happened just a month ago at that track in the 2 classes, although she did crash in Superbike. Here's the first row. Mitch Card on pole at the track where he doubled up last time, and that's the only 2 times he's won as a pro. Kazzaz, our points leader, who's been very successful. Hornblower joining the series for the first time this season. He did not race at home in Grand Bend, and Jacob Shaw O'Leary, rookie pro, having a very good run. He was hurt at Grand Bend, but since then he has been showing very, very well as we head up that Mario Andretti back straight and work the gears.
Well, Vieira on the number 33 bike, Colin, he rode at our first round at Shannonville Motorsport Park early in May, and we haven't seen him since. He's on the Kawasaki. They had some motor problems apparently, and so he's making a reappearance, I should say, on our circuit.
And he's the protege of Clive Nikitin, a star in Canada in the 80s in 250 Grand Prix and also in Superbike production racing too. So Clive was a versatile rider, and he's been helping Vieira. There's some talk of them getting some different machinery and doing the series full-time. Vieira certainly has some potential. There's the 2 buddies from the western part of Ontario greeting one another, and I think they anticipate being about as far apart as they are now during the race.
Well, Mitch Card and Will Hornblower both have done very, very well down at the SOAR event, Southern Ontario Association of Racers down at Grand Bend, where we made a visit with our second round. Fred Benjamin now has them under starters' orders on the starting line, and as soon as we check everyone out and make sure that we are good to go, we'll be glancing down at the Rider's Choice starting lights and sending them off for 14 laps.
Closest to the camera is Jacob Shaw O'Leary, and he has had to switch bikes here, had a transmission issue with his normal motorcycle. This is the bike his dad normally races, but it's a strong one, and he's had some success here at Mosport, so we'll see how he does his first time as a pro at this track.
Qualifying for this race, one of the most exciting qualifying sessions we've ever seen in Liqui Moly Pro Sport Bike. The lights are all on, the lights go off, the field launches, and they are away and running, heading down into turn number 1, and it looks like, oh yeah, Mitch Card got the whole shot on that one big time.
3 Yamahas and a Honda on the front row, and it looks like the Yamahas all got the whole shot. On board with our points leader, Thomas Kazzaz, as we crest the hill in turn 2 for the first time. And look at that Hornblower on the outside of his friend Card as we come down the hill, so we've started punching already.
And Jacob Shaw O'Leary taking an outside line coming off the top of the hill there in turn 2, trying to sneak up into 3rd spot. Didn't quite get that done. Shaw O'Leary popping a front wheel on the starting line, and I'm sure that did not help his launch.
And it looked like 2 riders touching going into turn turn 3 there. I think one of them was Shaw O'Leary. As you can see, these guys have got a bit of a gap already. That's Shaw O'Leary in 4th, but something happened there. He's lost a little time. I think that might be Darren James in 5th, and he's just rejoined the series. First time this year, the BC racer who has been doing some road racing, pure road racing in Europe, and Isle of Man, Ireland, that kind of stuff.
And he on the number 229 bike, and here we have the 111 of Will Hornblower, and that threw me off when I first saw him this time. Here we go now, Mitch Card picking up the draft off the back straight away and zoom right into the race lead.
And Mitch Card there, his fairly famous father, Bill Card. We have lots of famous fathers in this race.
Oh, Hornblower looks to the inside. Looked like he wanted to make an even move there and return the favor on Mitch Card. And we're on board right now with Tommy Kazas, the man that's searching for the number 1 plate and could wrap it up today should he do well.
Yeah, Kazaz is in a great position here, but he's not going to want to let these guys get away. These are 3 young guns in the series, but only 2 of them have been regulars. Hornblower, who's certain, look at this crazy wide entry into 2 here. He was maybe considering another wide move, but I think Card's got enough pace there. Hornblower tightened it right up at the bottom of 2, so some unusual lines already. And if I'm Kazaz, I'm probably a little nervous because I'd like to finish this thing up, and I don't want to get mixed up in any madness at Mosport.
Coming down to the bottom of 2, it looked like Jacob Shaw Leary perhaps had closed up a bit then, but then as we watched them swoop through Quebec corner or turn number 3 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, it was obvious that O'Leary is still solidly back in 4th spot and having a rather lonely ride just now.
Okay, so Card is leading this time. Last time it was Hornblower. We'll see how the draft works. Certainly it worked well for Card. Card's bike has been strong over the historical era. Hornblower's bike has been strong, and we know that Kazaz's bike was just fully rebuilt, so we're expecting all 3 of these Yamas to run very fast up the back straight.
Now, Kaz is perhaps taking advantage of getting a tow along from the 2 riders in front of him, although, if anything, I think, Colin, they came out a wee bit ahead on that one.
Looking backwards from Card, oh boy, Card had a moment there, had the back end coming around on him into 10, and there's probably lots of that going on in this race, and really nothing to choose from these 3. It's early days, but it's hard to imagine anyone other than these 3 is going to contend for the win.
Very early in this lap 3, Card looking over to the pit wall as though he was looking for his pit board, but as I say, it seemed very early to be watching for that kind of stuff. He knows exactly what he's up against this early in this race. Hornblower leaving a big hole there that I'm sure Tommy Kazas was interested in, and now he moves to the inside of Mitch Card, but Card swoops in, holds his line, and retains the lead.
Hornblower back in the series for the first time in a year, and he's got some of those Cordy lines. He's using more of the track than anybody else, and it seems to be working for him, but he's shown Mitch a couple of times a wheel, but hasn't made him flinch, and I think Card's campaign has been good, but hasn't been quite what they were looking for, and he is determined to win here after a year of no victories.
Hornblower going to the extreme left on the exit of 5B and then swinging right over onto the racing line, and almost in a move of desperation, albeit early in the race, to stay in behind Card and stay with that soft air.
Yeah, I get the feeling Hornblower isn't in a rush to work the draft. He's having a look, but he pulled out a little early there, and I think he's decided to follow, and he may be a little bit impressed by the fact Card's had some sideways moments, so this may come to him without as much drama as he expected.
These 3 riders, Colin, are starting getting enough distance to go over a race by their own selves. We look back into turn number 10, and we could just barely see, I believe that's still Jacob Shaw O'Leary holding on to 4th spot.
Yeah, I think you're right, but they are well clear, and I mentioned, Card's had some sideways moments, but that's typical Card, and we've seen that all season long, and most of the time he's able to hold on to it, and it doesn't seem to slow his progress. Look at this pace at the bottom of 2. These guys are hard on it, making those Dunlop slicks work very hard in that double apex turn 2, one of the most daunting corners in road racing. And in one more corner, we have another one of the most daunting corners in road racing.
And Hornblower again experimenting with lines, it seems, taking that wide sweep through turn number 3, and it looked like he might try to line something up for turn number 4. Coming down into Moss's, Colin, I wanted to point out to you, I'm sure you noticed that the damp spot slightly to the right of the racing line.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of drizzle and whatnot on and off here. It's not a big problem, but when you've got these kinds of high speeds, blind corners, lots of up and downhill, it's stressful to think that the traction isn't perfect, but I don't think any of these guys are worried about that at all. There is full commitment racing going on at the front right now.
No mistake about it. The race for the race within the race, rather, is up front for sure. We haven't caught sight of the battle that's going on for 4th spot, held presently by Jacob Shaw O'Leary, but we do know we have a a lot of hungry riders stacked in behind that Nova Scotia rider. On board with Tommy Kazas now, coming out of turn 10 onto the front straightaway, and he puts his chin down onto the gas tank, hoping to close some distance up on Hornblower.
Nice to go on board with Kazaz because he's actually riding conventional lines that are maybe slightly less frightening than some of what's going on with the top two, and he has got a little bit closer. Here we go again, card tight this time. Hornblower tends to go wide and then swoop back down, but nope, this time he's going to leave it wide the whole way, and he's looking on the inside of 3 pretty regularly. That seems to be a spot he thinks he can make it work, and I'm bet watching the pit board and whatnot, Card is thinking, I've got to hear these guys or see them or a wheel or something. I know they're right there, but so far not too much drama amongst these 3, but of course their tires are fully warm and they're clear of the rest of the field, so pretty soon they're going to start arguing.
Well, Hornblower's been away from this series for so long, Colin. We actually saw him down at Grand Bend, but he wasn't riding. He was walking through the pits, walking his dog, so I'm not sure what has kept him away from this series, but each and every time he's appeared in this series, he has been a front runner.
There you can see 4th, 5th, and 6th at the back of that shot. A good race going on, but not a race that's going to be part of this battle for the lead. And you mentioned Hornblower didn't come out at all this year until now, and I think Card and Kazaz should probably be happy about that,
no
because
kidding.
I think he would have been part of what's been a terrific discussion. Of course, we're missing Frank Trombino. He has a head injury that's got the doctors slightly concerned from his crash at Shubenacadie, and he was a terrific addition to the series and really brought some flavor and some veteran presence, and he would have certainly been part of this battle.
Will Hornblower had me a little excited there. He was having a long, hard look at the inside line going into turn number 1. We're on board with Hornblower right now, chasing Mitch Card. And here's a great shot of them sweeping down into the bottom of turn 2. And again, another damp spot there, Colin, that I'm sure riders want to avoid. It looks like Hornblower's going to have a look this time in turn number 3. Bingo, he's moved into first place.
Nice smooth move,
Beautiful.
A little bit tight on the entry, but Hornblower's been exploiting more of the track than anybody else, so that was not dramatic. But this will be good because Card has led most of this race. So let's see what Hornblower's got. Let's see what the other guys can learn from it. And of course now we have Kazaz and Card right together, basically the way it's been in every race so far this season. This is the 6th time we've raced. These guys are usually inches apart pretty much the whole way. Not a lot to choose, but Card's had a couple of mistakes.
And this is a championship ride by Tommy Kazas, of course. He's not so much interested in winning this race as he is in the championship. On board with Card rather, and moving into first spot just for a moment as Will Hornblower returns the favor just for a moment. Mitch Card was able to move into first spot, but he certainly obviously didn't hold it.
Well, I think good drive there, good slipstream, but just not quite enough line. And I think also Hornblower just sweated it on the brakes a little bit. And again, Hornblower just seems slightly more flexible in his choice and a little more comfortable. And this is funny given that he hasn't been riding with this group of guys and hasn't been racing at a track like this. There are no other tracks like this really in Canada that we race at. So, you know, Hornblower's return to the series is at the minimum very impressive.
Thomas Kazaz sitting back in third spot, and I mentioned, Colin, just before that interaction between Hornblower and Card, that Kazaz seems to be riding with the championship in mind. He doesn't seem to want to mix it up with these guys. He wants to sit back there, keep them within sight, and bring this thing home. Well,
you wonder as we head down through the chute, turn 4, another very demanding part of the track. If you know, Kazaz has shown championship form. He's shown good judgment. He's won races he needed to win, and maybe we're getting a little bit of that Jordan Zoke in his 3rd year as a pro. That I'm going to follow these guys. I'm not going to show them much, and I am not going to kill my tire. Right? I'm going to let them race each other. I'm going to let them chase each other around the track. I'm not going to show them what I've got.
Here we go with Mitch Card once more into the race lead, and he has solidified it with that one. That was a beautiful move by Card at the end of the back straightaway there, and look at the distance he's got now, Colin.
Yeah, and that was the first time I think he showed his hand in terms of power, and he ran it in really deep in turn 8, and he may have been a little surprised by how quickly. I bet Hornblower was definitely surprised how much Card made up time, but the problem is with these bikes at this track, it's so hard to pull away because the draft is important. They're drafting almost all the time, and you can see Hornblower's made up probably half the distance Card got off the back straight. Here we go, looking backwards at 2nd and 3rd, heading into turn 2, double apex, down the hill, big plunge, lots of commitment, and these guys certainly have the skill set to commit, and now we head to 3, where Hornblower's been doing some passing.
Well, in the off-season, of course, the big news in the Liqui Moly Pro Sport Bike class was the fact that we've gone on to slick tires on these motorcycles for this season. Colin, let's talk about those Dunlop slicks just for a moment.
Well, I think that the major thing for the riders is it's just a little more comfort, a little bit more appropriate tire. There's no suggestion that these are street tires. There never really were anyway. But in the Moto America series in the States, they run on slicks in this category, so it's a little bit of carryover. It's another opportunity to learn a skill that you would need moving forward if your career moves. And one interesting thing about all 3 of these guys, they're all young guys and they all have some potential. I mean, Kazaz is a little more outspoken about his desire to move forward with his career, but all of them have a lot of potential. As you can see, there's not much to pick between them.
Hornblower holding on to second spot, and that distance that Mitch Card gathered up last lap around seems to be pretty solid now. Having said that, Hornblower, of course, moves right up on the back wheel and turns me into a liar. Hornblower thought he might have an inside line coming out of turn 10, but there was no opportunity there. And again, Tommy Kazas just sitting back there in the cat seat, just waiting his opportunity, it seems.
Yeah, these the first 2 are the guys who want to race right now, and Kazaz isn't risking too much, although there's always the risk you'll participate in something that had nothing to do with you. And you know, it's funny watching from on board like we are now with Hornblower.
Oh, this is great stuff. Hornblower now looks to the inside of turn 3. Nope. Wasn't quite there. Goodness gracious, it looked like he was coming right up on him, Colin.
Well, also, you know, Card looks so fast, it's shocking that Hornblower's actually catching him at times, because, you know, when you watch Card, you don't think, man, we can go faster, right? When I watch Card, I think, man, this guy's pushing.
Do you think there's any frustration with Tommy Kazas in that he would like to get up there and start pushing for the lead, but he's sort of, his mandate is that he's got to get that championship, so he doesn't want to risk anything?
Well, without, you know, going too far off the ledge in predictions here, I just feel Kazaz has shown some maturity this year, and that's a tough thing, to go from winning races to winning championships, and there's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot to understand psychologically, and I feel like Kazaz has come very, very far in that department.
This is serious distance that Mitch Card has established there, and you talk all you want about the draft. It didn't seem to help a whole lot that time around. However, having said that, as we're on board with Tommy Kazas right now, looking at Will Hornblower, Hornblower seems to make up more time going into 8 and 9 than he does on the back straightaway.
Yeah, Hornblower makes up that back straight time immediately. Here he is, you know, 3-4 bike lengths back at 2. He's been up beside Card as we climb the hill 2. Corner 2, you're probably going to see him swing out a little wide, and he has a very good line here and has lots of speed. And again, now it's a bike length and a half, 2 bike lengths. It's meaningless, and that's what's going to happen here. No matter how well Card does off the back straight, here comes Hornblower.
He looks to 3 again, and again another move, and that's almost picture perfect to what he did last time around when he took the lead.
And I think this is the closest the 3 of them have been, but remember,
oh, yeah.
Card pulled a bit of a lead for the first time, and immediately Hornblower passes him. So that's a warning. You're not going to get it that way. It's going to take a lot more strategizing to make it work. But we're at the point where everybody's trying to figure out what is the math to back up the lap that they can make the pieces fit. And if Card has the fastest bike, that is the most important thing, but it's not a guarantee. And gearing is important too when you're in the slipstream all the time. If you're just slightly off in the gearing, you can't use that slipstream. And look at that Card just flying.
He pulled out early, Colin. He pulled up way down the bottom of the hill there and just used his horsepower to get him where he is right now. He didn't get any soft area assistance on that one.
No, I think my read on this right now is Card's getting fed up with it. He's going to try and go. But here we go again in this funnel, 8, 9, and 10.
Yep.
Hornblower just comes firing right back
for
up.
Hornblower there as his back end came up off the saddle. I'm not sure what happened there, but there was definitely a moment.
Getting late in the race here. We haven't been following anything but this 3-bike battle for first, and really it's a 2-bike battle because Kazaz won't show his cards, won't play his hand. He's watching his pit board, and he's trying to figure out, you know, pretty much anything in this situation will get him what he wants, which is the national championship, but it's nice to do a little bit better.
I hesitated there for a moment, Colin, because Tommy Kazas took a different line coming down off of 2 that time, and he went right over that wet spot that's at the bottom, right at the compression.
Right through here, you can see that Kazaz can benefit from what both of these guys are doing. Remember, we're on 3 similar, not identical Yamahas. Kazaz is the newest, but probably in terms of the fear factor, the Card bike is the one that everybody's aware of is a very fast motorcycle, and this is the circuit on the tour that is most able to demonstrate superiority. And see, now Card is towing them up the straight. This should be an advantage to second and third, but he seems to be pulling away.
Has this bike of Card's got any history to it? Do we know who's putting that thing together for him?
Well, you know, as with all Canadian bikes, a number of hands have been involved, but it originally came from the United States and has a lot of Graves parts on it. So, you know, the Yamaha program in the States is the strongest program. There are a lot of good young riders on Yamahas, and that's not a coincidence, and Card is another good young rider on a Yamaha.
Coming up on traffic, Colin, this could get very interesting indeed. Maybe this is the kind of thing that Tommy Casas had been waiting for until late in the race, pulling, as you referred, a Jordan Zoke move of sitting back and taking the race lead when most important.
Yeah, this is nerve-wracking to encounter traffic at this position. This is really worrisome, and this rider isn't doing anything wrong, but he's making it difficult. Okay, we saw the wave blue flag, so everybody got the message there, and if anything, it has closed them up a bit.
That was Chris Fair, by the way, the rider out of Kingston, Ontario, on the 270 bike, so good move by Chris Fair, moving over and letting the race leaders by, and Mitch Card now leading this thing as he comes steaming down into Mosses, and those suspension just bottoming out there at the bottom. This is the lowest part, of course, of the racetrack, rather. Now they'll start to climb up the hill on the straightaway. Yeah,
you're turning your elbows in, moving your hands up on the handlebars, turning your toes and your ankles, trying to do everything you can, watching the tack, seeing how that affects things, seeing if the tack indicates someone's pulled in right behind your bike. They're fairly far apart now, and again, Card did very well up the back straight.
That thing is just a rocket ship. Man, is that thing ever fast. You talk about equal motorcycles, all Yamaha R6s. Tommy Casas is being brand new 17, and Casas now is on the move. Tommy Casas moves into second spot. Late in the race, he's on the move. He's looking for the race win.
And that was a really nicely judged maneuver. Only two laps to go.
And who should this be sneaking up the inside of turn number 1 as Hornblower returns the favor? Tommy Casas making a beautiful pass on the inside of turn number 10, and Will Hornblower returning the favor with similar beauty heading into turn number 1.
But the problem is a big one, Frank. That punch and counter punch, as you often put it, has super helped Card.
Yeah.
That has opened up a gap, and this might be just enough. And Card can't know this. This all happened as he was getting his pit board, but he can feel it, and he knows there's nobody close behind him.
Wow.
Less than 2 laps to go. That may be the move of the race.
Have really punched themselves in the face by the looks of it in this one. Talk about punch and counter punch, and again, a little bit of traffic coming up here, and we'll see if Mitch Card gets by okay. We've got quite a ways to go yet until we catch up with that traffic, but guess where it's going to happen, Colin?
Yeah, it's going to happen in the funnel of 8, 9, and 10.
Why not?
And Card's going to get to them clearly first. So
that's key.
Even if he gets held up a little bit, there's a little bit of room to maneuver.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Hornblower and Casas have now started racing each other, and that changed. Wow, look at that on the inside.
Whoa, my goodness. Now,
that did not work.
A blue flag would have been shown to that rider, and he should have given up the position, Colin. Correct me if I err.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but he is not aware that the leader's on his tail, and of course these bikes are very... Okay, so Card got 1. He has 2 right in front of him, and it actually seems to still be going okay for Card as he's pulling by the Triumph. 1 more bike to go at the top of 2. Danny
Everett on board that Triumph, getting scooped up by Mitch Card, now down into the bottom of number 2, and I think that's Martin Cote on board the 217 bike. That he's gotten by now, and looks like Hornblower has gotten trapped in behind Cote, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, indeed, that has happened. Now we have that lapper in between Mitch Card and Will Hornblower. We're on board right now with Tommy Casas heading down through turn number 4, down in towards Moss's corner, and Hornblower moves to the inside. He has moved up, and Tommy Casas follows him through and just about tags the back end of him in Moss's corner. Now Tommy Casas in the soft air and behind Hornblower, and up the straightaway they go, but they're not catching Card on this one. Mitch Card has gone for a ride on this one, and it looks like he's got the race win wrapped up. Now let's not count any chickens just yet, but it's a tremendous lead. Tommy Casas now, as we're on board, we're underneath the Canadian Tire bridge and heading into turn number 8, and Hornblower holding him off, no problem here. Oh, wait a minute now, Tommy's got an idea. He swings wide in 8, takes the inside line going into 9, and pushes Hornblower way off the racing line. In through 10 they come. The checkered flag is awaiting them, and Mitch Card sees it first. Then Casas, and then Hornblower. Card patching himself in the head. I can't believe I just did that, I think is what he was saying.
And I'm sure Card was surprised when he looked back how far behind they were. And, Kazaz really sucked it up to get up to second. A lot of determination when that was not necessary to win the championship, but a lot of pride in that display. But you can't take it away from Card. Very well judged performance and a little bit of luck and some hard riding in traffic on the last couple of laps.
Well, he showed us last year exactly what he can do on a racetrack like this when he won both legs, and he's won the race number 6 of the 2017 season on this one, the first leg of the Canadian Tire doubleheader weekend.
Well, we have called Frank Trombino the warlord of Shannonville. Frank, you're going to have to come up with a nickname for Card because he is good at this venue. Here we see the results with the best lap times into the low 24s. That is impressive. Card, Kazaz, Hornblower in a class of their own. Strong effort by rookie pros Jacob Shaw-Leary and Chris Brent, showing what determination will do in a deep field. End of their first season as pros, and they are up near the front. Rafa, Darren James back in the series. Stacey Nesbitt in 8th. David McKay and Alex Coelho, who's had a good season on a borrowed Yamaha after a very strong performance on a Kawasaki 2nd overall last year.
Speaking of good performance, another solid performance by Louis Rafa.
Gee, these guys know where the camera is.
They found you. And of course, Tommy Kaz is referring to his adventure in Italy, attending Valentino Rossi's training school, and obviously learned a bit from it, Colin.
Now let's head down to the podium.
Will Hornblower, what a terrific race. Tell us what it was like from behind your handlebars.
It was all right. Every time I get to come out here and race with these guys, it's a lot of fun. Been racing with Mitch since, well, he started. Basically, we were amateurs together, and he was just a little punk back then, but now I can't keep him in sight, apparently. It was back and forth, me, Tommy, and Mitch, and it was just, it got a little greasy out there. I'll give him that, but Mitch rode his heart out, and he earned this one.
I suspect the phone lines to Italy are going to be alive tonight. Tommy Kazas, congratulations on your 2nd place, and more importantly, congratulations on your national championship.
Thank you, Frank. I'm delighted just to, even if I came 2nd, just to walk away with the championship and do it this way, especially here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park with all the fans. It was a great race right from the start. These guys are riding absolutely awesome, and those Dunlops were sticking, man. We were setting faster times than qualifying, it seems, all throughout the race, and they held in till the end. But man, oh man, it was a fun race, and back there I just studied these guys and waited it out. I didn't want to risk a whole lot, but I managed to get it on that 2nd last turn and bring it home. And man, like you guys saw the post there, earlier this year I was in Italy. All thanks to Yamaha, I got the opportunity to go to a training camp from Valentino and Yamaha, and like it says on the poster, take me back to Italy, VR46. Dreams are big. My hopes is to one day be racing in the World Championship, and it's a lot way from here. It's a long way from here, but with hard work, I believe it can be done.
A champion deserves a champion cheer. Don't go away, Tommy. We'll be back. Now to the top of the box. My goodness, this is deja vu all over again.
Yeah, that was a hard battle. I can't say enough. Will, he fought his heart out all the way through. He passed me a bunch of times coming into 3, and then I would always draft by him on the back straight, and Tommy, he was there the entire time. We caught up to some lappers and made the race a little more interesting for sure, but it was a fun race all around. I can't complain. The weather stayed around, and there's so many fans here. It's awesome.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, your champion, your podium, your race winner. So we'll use this for a photo op. And now it's time for a champion's cheer when we present this number 1 plate to Tommy Kazas. I expect we're going to hear from you folks big time. So friends, if you would do us the honor of presenting this young man with a much-deserved single-digit number 1 plate. He is the champion of Canada in sport bike racing. Oh, I love it. Right to the top of the box. Great photo op now.
Yeah, Frank, this is a big moment in my career, and I just want to give a huge thank you to my family, my dad, he's been my motivation, and he's been the one behind me ever since the start, believing in me, and I cannot thank my whole family from coming and supporting me. I have family from the States as well here, and you know, all my friends and everyone, all the fans for coming out, my crew. Huge thank you to Franklin Dominguez, David Dominguez, Rob Cosino, Jimmy Brooks, George, John Cornwall. They've been behind me for a long time now, and I just want to dedicate the championship to the team, and huge honor to be up here. And again, thank you to the CSBK for putting such a good show, and hopefully tomorrow we can give you guys another great show.
With one round left to go, we know one thing. Thomas Kazaz will have the #1 plate in Liqui Moly Pro Sport Bike in 2018. He has taken the championship in his 3rd season as a pro, and that was a solid effort. Card fought him the whole way. He's 2nd and going to be 2nd overall. Rafa is 3rd in the points, consistent riding. Trombino drops to 4th after he missed 2 rounds. Alice Coelho, David McKay, Jacob Shaw O'Leary, the rookie pro, Stacey Nesbitt, Chris Garvey, who missed this round with his Kawasaki.
On behalf of the entire CSBK crew, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.